The first thing Evan Sayre felt was a heat so sharp it knocked the breath clean out of his chest. A wall of fire was tearing through a downtown office building while people screamed and ran in every direction. It was the middle of the day, the sun sitting high over the city, yet smoke had turned the sky a sick gray and sirens wailed like something out of a nightmare. Evan had been walking past with his backpack over one shoulder, his mind stuck on rent, school fees, and how to squeeze one more week out of his grocery budget, when he spotted her collapse near the entrance, pinned between falling debris and a wall of rising flames. Without thinking, without knowing her name or why she was there, Evan ran straight into the fire. Before the story continues, if you believe that kindness deserves second chances and that good deeds have a way of coming back around, please like this video, share it with someone who could use a little hope, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. Evan Sayre was not a hero by trade or by nature. He was a single dad raising a 9-year-old boy named Milo, the kind of man who had learned to wake up before the sun, pack school lunches, and tuck his own fears behind a steady smile. 6 months earlier, his world had been turned upside down when he lost his job as a maintenance supervisor at a large corporate firm called High-End Systems. The termination email had been brief, cold, and final, citing budget cuts and restructuring. Evan never even got a phone call, let alone a face-to-face conversation with the executive who signed off on it. All he knew was that the decision came from the top, from the CEO whose name sat neatly at the bottom of that notice. Since then, his days had been a loop of job applications, polite rejection emails, and the low, constant hum of fear that he was not doing enough for his son. That morning, Evan had gone downtown for yet another interview that ended with a handshake and no promise. He was making his way back to the bus stop, quietly picking apart every answer he had given and wondering what he should have said differently, when the explosion hit. A sharp crack split through the street, followed by flames bursting from the lower floor of an office building. People froze, then the panic took over. Evan watched smoke pour out of the windows, alarms screaming in every direction, and right there in the middle of it all, a woman stumbling near the entrance, her business jacket half burned away, her face pale and blank with shock. She tried to get up, but her legs folded under her. Evan did not stop to think about Milo waiting at school, or the fact that he had no gear, or that the fire department was still minutes out. He dropped his bag and ran. The heat hit him like a wall, the air thick and black with smoke, but he got to her. He curled his body over her head as chunks of debris came down around them. He could feel the burn on his skin and his lungs begging for air, but he got his arms under her and moved, one step at a time, dragging her away from the flames while people on the street shouted at him to get back. By the time he made it to the pavement with her, his arms were shaking and his vision was starting to go. The sirens got louder and then hands were pulling them apart as paramedics poured in. Evan came to later in a hospital room filled with pale afternoon light, bandages wrapped tight around his forearms and shoulder. His first thought was Milo. His second was that he had no idea where he was. A nurse told him his son had been reached and was safe with a neighbor. Then she mentioned that the woman he had pulled out was stable and had been asking about him. Evan gave a slow nod, still with no idea who she was, just relieved she had made it. A few hours later, sunlight was cutting through the window and the city was humming along outside when a woman walked into his room alongside a doctor. She moved carefully, one arm in a sling, her face serious but carrying something softer underneath. Evan knew her face immediately, not from the fire, but from company newsletters and press photos. She was Marissa Vale, the CEO of High-End Systems, the same woman whose name had been at the bottom of the email that ended his career, that hit him harder than any of the smoke or flames had. His chest went tight and everything came rushing back. The email, sitting Milo down to explain they might have to move, the nights lying awake running numbers that never added up. Bitterness crawled up into his throat. But then he looked at her standing there, her arm in a sling, still shaken, still alive because he had moved without knowing who she was, and something in him let go. Marissa stood at the foot of his bed, tears working their way into her eyes, and told him she was grateful in a way that Evan could barely take in through everything he was feeling. She explained she had been in the building for a meeting when faulty wiring set the whole floor off. She told him plainly that she would not be alive if he had not come in after her. Evan sat and listened, his feelings pulling him in two directions at once, caught between the hurt she represented and the plain, simple fact that her life had mattered more to him in that moment than any old grudge ever could. In the days that followed, Evan's story moved quietly through the city. Local news picked it up. A single father who ran into a burning building to save a stranger. Neighbors started leaving food outside his door. Milo walked around school telling anyone who would listen that his dad was the bravest person alive. And he said it with the kind of pride that made Evan's chest ache. But even with all of that, the worry did not go away. Being brave does not cover rent, and the moment the hospital discharged him, real life would be waiting right where he left it. What he did not see coming was a call from high-end systems asking him to come in. Walking back through those glass doors felt like stepping into a dream he had already lived. Sunlight bouncing off the polished floors, old memories lurking in every corner. Marissa Vale met him herself this time, not from behind a corporate title, but as a person who understood she was standing there because of him. She told him that his layoff had been part of a decision made too fast, one that had not accounted for the real people it was cutting loose. She said she had gotten it wrong. Evan had never expected to hear that from anyone at that company. Marissa did not just offer Evan his old job back. She offered him something new, a role built around his life with the flexibility he needed to be there for Milo, better pay, and a real seat at the table to help shape how the company treated its people going forward. Evan sat with it all, his heart going fast, understanding that this was bigger than a paycheck. This was about being treated like a person. He said yes, not out of spite or to prove something, but because Milo needed stability and because Evan genuinely believed that people were capable of doing better. Going back to work was quiet and meaningful in a way he had not expected. The people who had known him before welcomed him back with real warmth, not out of pity but out of respect. The place felt different too, a little more grounded, a little more aware of the human beings walking its halls. Life did not fix itself all at once. Evan still had the scars on his arms and somewhere deeper, and there were still days when the old fear crept back in and reminded him how fast things could fall apart. But there were also mornings with sunlight coming through the kitchen window and Milo laughing over breakfast, and evenings where Evan felt something close to peace that he had not felt in a long time. Months later, High-End Systems rolled out a new initiative focused on supporting single parents and employees going through hard times. Marissa spoke at the announcement and gave credit to a moment that had changed her perspective, though she kept the details to herself. Evan watched from the back of the room with a full heart, knowing that one split-second decision to run toward danger instead of away from it had sent ripples out further than he would ever be able to measure. Before this story ends, please take a moment to share what it made you feel in the comments below. Your words carry more weight than you realize. Evan never thought of himself as extraordinary. He was just a father who saw someone who needed help and moved toward them. But that one choice rewrote his story and reminded everyone touched by it that kindness offered without conditions has the power to change lives in ways nobody sees coming. If this story stayed with you, gave you hope, or made you believe a little more in second chances, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Kindness Touch. Your support keeps stories like this one alive. And together we can keep reminding the world that even on the brightest, clearest day, compassion can still outshine fire.